Well, it's just me and you this week, Jonesy. No, you don't need to fanboy anything. No Love Island stars. So we're back to us talking about England cricket. Let's talk about the England squad reaction. Let's talk about the Lions. Have also announced the squad. They've got a series against South Africa A, and the women have been warming up for their T20 World Cup. Some one-dayers, and then to start some T20 matches against New Zealand. Let's start with England then. Should we recap the squad, or can you remember it? Should we recap it anyway?
No,
we don't need to, or you can remember.
Yeah, go on.
No, I'll do it. Okay, it was
No,
Duckett.
you go through it. Yeah.
Duckett, Gay, Bethel, Root, Brook, Stokes, Smith, Rehan Ahmed, Atkinson, Baker, Shoaib Bashir, Matthew Fisher, James Rue, Bolly Robinson, and Josh Tongue. Right. First and foremost, let's go with this. What's your starting lineup from that squad? I guess you only need
it was pretty much as you
go on.
read out up until until you got to beyond Smith. So just go. So it's Gay. He's already been told he's open.
We know that. Yeah.
Duckett. Yeah. Bethel, Root, Brook, Stokes, Smith, Atkinson, Robinson, Tongue, Bashir is where
You're going
I'm
with
going.
that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, I think that's the popular choice, isn't it? Because you've got did you say Robinson, didn't you? Yeah, Robinson and Atkinson, you can both bat. So therefore, Bashir becomes the spin option. Because the other one is that Rehan Ahmed plays instead of Atkinson. And my thinking on that is going to go back to the lack of bowling that Gus has had, plus getting hit on the head by Josh Tongue a couple of times. But I'm going with a bottom of Ahmed, Robinson, Tongue and Baker. Now, Sonny Baker's the form horse in this. He took 5 for the other day. I was doing commentary with Simon Hughes, the analyst, at the Utilita on Saturday, and we sat just behind Baker. We watched him side on as well. Man, he's rapid, and he took 5. Like I say, he took 5 for yesterday. So I'm going for Robinson, Tongue, and Baker as the 3, and therefore Rehan Ahmed as the spin option. Because he can bat a bit as well. If my side were to take on your side, what do you think? It's a bit difficult.
I'd win.
Most 8 players are the same, 7 players are the same, but apart from that bit, why would you win?
Yeah, I suppose it. I suppose a little bit of. I'm going to go a little bit of lump with experience with the bowling. I think that's my thinking with my side. Is that following the Ashes, that even though there's quite a bit of fallout, they'll want some sort of continuity and some experience with that bowling lineup of when you've done it in Test match cricket. And Atkinson, Robinson, Tongue, Bashir, they've all done it. Bashir didn't get an opportunity in the Ashes, and we're all baffled by that. But they clearly saw something in him to take him there, but then switched mindset completely. He'd done fine in Test matches leading up to it. So that's what I think. I think he's gone away and he's playing county cricket. I get it. Rehan Ahmed's exciting. He is a tremendous batter. He scores hundreds up the top for Leicester. But for me, I think his bowling is just gettable. I think he's the one day cricket, white ball cricket. Yeah, stick him in. But for Test match cricket, I just feel that's where I'm going. Bashir, Robinson. Keezy's called him one of the best bowlers in the world, so he's a shoe in there. I'll give it to you with Sonny Baker and Atkinson. Atkinson is probably the most unproven in a way out of that lot. He's had the hamstring troubles following the Ashes. He's got this concussion. The only thing is depends on how bad the concussion is. He's got a week or two to get into it. But Baker is exciting. If we go back to the Ashes, we wanted pace, we wanted fire. He adds all that, and he's probably the one where you could look at and think, he's marginal. You're not going to lose a lot by sticking him in there.
Joe Root's taken more wickets than Gus Atkinson this year. That's all I've got to say.
More, isn't he?
Well, but it's Joe Root. He's a batter, and that's. But we said this a couple of weeks ago. Should Gus play? If England pick him and he's undercooked, which he's going to be, right? He's hardly bowled, got whack on the head, and he's got, legacy injury issues, which is probably why they're resting him. How do you trust him to go into a full summer without, in the olden days, the old bowlers, you'll be saying about overs in the legs or whatever, and he's got a bowl. So what England aren't short of are quality medium to fast bowlers. So why risk somebody who's potentially going to break down, and definitely hasn't bowled enough? That's my
Yeah,
case
I
for
think.
Sonny
Well,
Baker.
yeah, he'll get. He's got a few weeks yet to do it, hasn't he? So we don't we don't know the full extent of those two blows to the head in terms of how bad the concussion is. Is it one that means he's got to do the full 21-day protocol, which sounds it's not. It might just be have a bit of a rest, and then he's got a 2-week build up where he will bowl a lot. He will be ready. But England have made a bit of a decision with having Fisher as well. I watched him play against Yorkshire, and he got the three big guns out,
Yeah,
and
took Orford,
he
didn't he?
actually looked to me like a bit of a yeah, he's a bit of a Jimmy Anderson style replacement, but they've or a Robinson. He's brought that in. So if England are going for English conditions, and Fisher, I can see why he's been included because he was a bit of a left field decision for a lot of us. We hadn't even
Mm.
haven't even considered him, but now sort of doing a bit of watching on his bowling, I can see how they're confident in having him in the squad. And if it so means that whatever, that Atkinson isn't quite ready, you don't want it, but one of those others pick up an injury, you've got someone who will come in and suit the conditions quite nicely. Skillful bowler, swing it in, swing it out. Ollie Robinson has come back into it, but they've always questioned his fitness. He says he's grown up. He says he's matured. He's worked on his fitness. You've only got to look at Instagram to see that. And so, yeah, it's actually looking at it that what the replacements they've got in mind to come in, and so it's. I think you could pick from a few of it, but I think they're going to go first up with experience and with a little bit of what they know.
Also, the fact that you picked Bashir and I picked Rehan Ahmed, who did you have? Robinson, Atkinson, and Tongue, and I've gone for Sonny Baker. Probably says a lot about our respective personalities, more so than anything else. But it's going to be an interesting series for England. How much of the picks that they make for New Zealand and then Pakistan is about winning the current series as opposed to planning for the South Africa away and then, most importantly, the Ashes next summer? What's the split? How does the thinking work in an England setup?
Yeah, I think this is a side that's been picked for this current summer. Um, and it's probably gone away from that Ashes thinking, to be honest. I think it's very much let's pick a side that's going to have an impact this summer. Let's rebound from the Ashes, and let's deal with the winter when it comes. We've got our watch list. We've got guys who are there or thereabouts. We'll have a look at them. Let's have a look at Sonny Baker in and around the squad. Fisher's played a test match a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
2022. So they've got an insight into him. But I think for the first time in a few years, England have picked a very much England wickets condition side.
Then I've got two words to say to you, and they are Sam Cook. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, the bloke's taken 27 wickets or something, right? Ethan Bamber and him are the leading, and Kyle Abbott, obviously he can't play, leading wicket takers in the country. And yet, Sam Cook, if you're going to pick English bowlers for English conditions, why on earth is Sam Cook not in that squad?
Because I think he's just that step below what. So yes, I get it. He's dominating county cricket, but it showed when he did play, it's sort of that step up, that contrast was just sort of showed the difference and where Sam Cook can have huge success at first class cricket. I think someone like a Robinson, bit taller, Baker, faster, Fisher looks a taller, same sort of skillful. I always end up saying it. I do understand it, but I also think that Sam Cook's probably previous Test match performance is just going against him with this current and moving forward.
But Sonny Baker got carted round the ground on his international debut. Is it because he's got wheels?
Yeah, but yeah, he has got that, and so that's the one thing. He's the one thing. He's got that 90 miles an hour and in his locker, whereas Sam Cooke doesn't, does he? He's what is he? Late 70s?
Yeah, I looked it up actually. Yeah, late 70s, early 80s. So he's got, he's. Then I looked him up against people like McGrath and Anderson. Let's say, I mean, two of the greatest bowlers ever. I'm not putting Sam Cooke in that category, but neither of those two you would say were rapid. But Jimmy was faster than I think people think. Bowling sort of late 80s, and McGrath was in the mid 80s. So yeah, I can see that point. Matthew Potts, unlucky. I mean, Troy Cooley was at Lord's, as we've said a couple of times, to watch him. He's taken 18 wickets so far in the county championship.
Yeah, I think he's a bit more workhorse style, isn't he? Where we talk about it a bit, but there's some skillful bowlers here. You look at Baker pace, but he also moves it around. Fisher, whereas I think Potsy is a bit of a guy who he runs in, he gives you wholehearted efforts. And even talking to Troy the other week, he's working out. Is he going to be this tearaway trying to push 90 miles an hour, or is he going to be that low to mid 80s, throwing some skill into it? And so I think that's probably where he's at. He's in a bit of sort of mixed position where he's working out what exactly what he wants to do. But he's a sort of guy that they know what his qualities are. They're clearly looking at him. He's no harm in getting wickets at all, but he's probably just a bit off the pace compared to who they've picked, definitely.
Because I guess you need a blend, don't you, of different types of bowlers. There's no point having everybody the same. So, I guess if you look at your spin option of Shoaib Bashir, theoretically, he gives England the luxury to play a Baker, for example, who is a bit of a tearaway. Whereas, I guess what I'm saying is you need probably one bowler that is going to be a bit unpredictable. So is that spinner or is that quick, I suppose? Because if you pick Rehan Ahmed, you've then got to pick three steadier options, which I know I picked Sonny Baker in mine, but that's probably the thing. That's probably the mix that England are looking for, aren't they?
Yeah, and also a bit of bowler, he shouldn't go in it, but a bit of bowler protection. You've got also, we haven't even mentioned about Stokes. He's been opening the bowling for Durham. He's playing against Kent currently on a flat one, so he's getting his bowling overs in. And you've got Stokes who his body can play up, can fail him in a bit, and so they're not guys who you're going to bowl for endless overs at all. So you've got that sort of thinking to do with. So I suppose a chink in the armour is attacking a spinner, and batters do that now. And so when they look at matchups and they think, right, if we can hit Bashir or hit Ahmed out of the attack, that pressure that comes back onto it, and this is where it comes back onto those other fast bowlers, and this is where it comes back to just my personal. I can't put my finger on what it is, but I just think that they could go after Rehan Ahmed, and he hasn't got as many options as whereas a Bashir, with his height, with his sort of test matches that he's played, I just think he's got a little bit more nous to call upon to help out that bowling unit.
Let's keep with the spinners then. Obviously, Liam Dawson retired on the day that the England squad was announced. As I said, I was down at Hampshire on Saturday. I spoke with a few people there, and they say, all right, bad timing, but the two things aren't linked. He'd thought about it at the end of last season when Hampshire nearly got relegated. And then after the Essex match a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, when they got done in 3 days, Hampshire, he decided on the Monday that, he didn't want to play red ball cricket anymore, and they flew in Dilana Pochita in from Gauteng Lions to come and play. He landed, I think, on a Thursday and made his debut on a Friday type thing. So I think we can put the Dawson, threw his toys out of pram rumour to bed, but he didn't get picked, but he's the sort of bowler you like, though, isn't he, if you're going to pick Bashir?
Exactly. Similar sort of thing. Someone, what Dawson's got is bundles of experience, and that's what helps you out, that experience to get you through those situations where, right, they're attacking me here. What options have I got? What options have I got with my line, my length, my speed, but also what can I do with my field? So that's why I like Dawes, but he has been around forever. I'm not surprised he's had enough of red ball cricket, and it's sort of it's elongating his career if he could have, and it's also enjoyment. If you're thinking about it, there's got to be a nagging bit there. I'm not really enjoying it, and so, but I do enjoy white ball cricket. There's opportunities going to come up around, the franchise world now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so he's sort of looking at that and going, well, if I carry on playing 4-day cricket, it's going to compromise, sort of like Caribbean Premier League stuff that eats into a little bit at the end. So
Yeah.
he's probably, as much as that, the enjoyment factor. I retired a year when I still had a year on my contract because I was enjoying it so much, and I didn't want to get to that point where I wasn't enjoying it. And so I think that's probably would say when you've played a lot, you weigh it up and you go, actually, if I'm starting to not enjoy it, it's time to give it up and look at something else.
And if you're playing at the utility and you're on that flat wicket and bowling 42 overs, naught for about 80 odd, 90 odd, it's probably not much fun anyway, right? So you can probably
Yeah,
see
he
why.
was that sort of character as well, Dorse. You could tell he sort of strudge, and he just looked like he hated fielding. And he's been like that since when I played against him. He was quite a dour, sort of, but dry, funny character. But you could just, oh my gosh, here we go again. Lost the toss. I've got to go out and bowl. So, but yeah, hopefully it gives him a bit of vitality, and it sort of lengthens his career. And we see him playing white ball cricket for a few number of years yet.
Yeah, James Vince has probably been in his ear about that. Just finishing off with Shoaib Bashir, as far as the spinners are concerned, it's a big opportunity for him if he does get picked, because there's probably a bit of public sympathy with him, which there probably wasn't after the India series, because I think people felt that, why there's lots of other spinners in the country. Why is this guy bowling for England? He doesn't take wickets and whatever. Then after the Ashes, the way he got treated, there's probably some public sympathy. So it's a good opportunity for him to stake his claim to be England's number one spinner for the Ashes next year. But also he's got a lot of competition apart from, Rehan Ahmed. You've got Mason Crane, who's getting wickets, Liam Patterson-White, who's in the Lions squad. There's a lot of young spinners coming through now. So it's an opportunity for Bashir, but also, it's make or break, I think.
Yeah, yeah, you're right there. People were baffled about the Ashes. When we'd backed him for as many Test matches as we had leading into it, and then all of a sudden he was out of it. And so there is that sympathy. So he should be looking at this and going, "This is a massive opportunity. This could be almost career defining." Where you're right, if he does well, he's going to be inked in for as long as he wants. But if he struggles a bit, they are going to be looking at those other names, and they're going to be back to that dilemma of, and I think it is a big dilemma of the spin of who plays, and so that's why I think Bashir's got his go again, because he's been in and around, and so they've looked at it and think, no, we need to back this guy. We picked him because of all the aspects that we recognise, so let's give him a go. But because currently there's not really that much about that we can bring straight in.
Do you know who the most disappointed man in county cricket is going to be this week? Any ideas?
Probably
It
your
isn't
mate
Dom.
Sibley, is he?
It isn't Dom Sibley. No, it's Jamie Smith, bowled Harry Brook. Now,
I
if I
saw that.
yeah, so they're going to meet up. I think it's next week, isn't it? They've got a camp of some description, the England boys. So that I'm sure Brooks got a whole load of stuff lined up for Jamie Smith.
Did you
I
see the
looked at
celebration?
yeah, it
And
was fun.
all that was missing was the Freddie Flintoff shirt off, running
Exactly, it was
around, heading
running
like
around the
World Cup
ground.
scene.
Exactly.
And in
I
his
looked
head,
at
you're right, he was just going, I'm going to use this for the whole of the summer.
exactly. Now, as I've mentioned before, we've mentioned on this podcast before, I've seen you bowl. You, as we've said, you were the replacement for the great Glenn McGrath in the Hong Kong sixes that we did. I also looked at your bowling record. Not a wicket in sight in the bowling in the wickets column, but do you have any instances of someone who either isn't a real bowler bowling an international colleague, or a case where there was a wicket that was over celebrated? Anything that sort of sticks to mind from your long and storied playing career?
No, I'm trying to think. Well, the one that comes to mind is Rob Key getting wickets with his leg spin, because it was just horrific. But he managed to burgle out a few, and his celebration, it was it was just typical Keysy. So that's probably that's his leg spin, but they didn't really turn at all. But yeah, that I remember playing. I think when it got to that point, I wouldn't keep. I would, in a way, I'd sort of, but I'd be happy. I'd be happy not bowling, because because I thought, oh, I'm not going to get a token. I don't want to get a token wicket. I probably won't get one, and I'll just get whacked everywhere. So I'll just take the pads off, and I'll go and graze on the boundary somewhere. But then I had to put up with Keysy, sort of trying to create Warren-esque theatre around this bowling, which was just, but he burgled a couple of wickets, and so yeah, that sticks in my mind.
As well as the full squad, the England Lions have also announced a squad as well. I don't know how much you've seen of that, but I'll give you that squad as well. Dan Mousley, who I actually had on my watch list to be in the full squad, as someone to look at, because he got early runs, didn't he? He's captain of that side. A lot of these names won't be familiar to viewers, so maybe you can sort of tell us what you know about these guys. Charlie Allison, who plays for Essex, he got runs when Matt Critchley got that big that big 170 odd the first time that Hampshire played them. So the commentary there, he got 70 or 80. Allison, he got caught at third man, I think. Henry Crocombe, he's going to play the second 4-day match. Eddie Jack from Hampshire. Ben Geddes from Middlesex, who we saw bat the other day. Ben Mays, also Hampshire. Ben McKinney, who was touted, I think, as either him or Gay being the opener in the full squad. He's in the Lions. Tom Laws, Alfie Ogborn. He's playing the first 4-day match. Liam Patterson-White, Nottinghamshire bowled the other day. I saw him. James Sales, who I assume is David Sales' son, is he? Up at Northants, probably.
Correct.
Matthew Sharma from Middlesex, Mitchell Stanley, Asa Tribe, Glamorgan, another one who could have got in that full squad, and James Wharton. So tell our audience what you know about a lot of these players, Jonesy.
Well,
could be a short,
not a huge amount. I'll be honest, because they are guys who are up and coming. So may have had some England under-19 experience, and they're being promoted. That the balance with this Lions squad is actually who you choose, because there's county championship and the T20, the Blast is just starting.
Yeah,
so it's almost it's a bit of a negotiation with counties as to who, in a way, they're willing to let you have, and so that also dictates the squad. Sort of who you bring in. So that's where. So these guys, like, there's some names there, like you say, McKinney, Tribe, Geddes. They're ones who are obviously they're definitely touting. They're playing a lot of first class cricket currently. They're having some success, and so that's what it's made of. And Mousley captaining. Mousley was in the side last year, and he would have been involved over the winter. There's also guys who've had winter experience. So it's a squad that has a bit of a core, in a way, that works together moving forward. I think Eddie Jack and Tom Laws, they had winter experience, and they've got England incremental contracts, so they're definitely going to be used. And then Crocombe from Sussex has taken 19 wickets, so he's one they're looking at, okay, for the future outside of the the current main squad. So but the big thing is balancing of taking these guys away from first class and professional, and the Blast, and putting them into this about 17-day 2 4-dayers, 3 1-dayers. It's how you fit it all in. But it's a great opportunity for these guys because for someone like McKinney, someone like Asa Tribe, for example, he's getting that opportunity to push his name forward. And it could be that maybe the white ball stuff is where England see these guys coming into it sooner rather than the later for the Test match stuff.
Ben Mays scored those massive runs in the under-19 World Cup. He played the first couple of games for Hampshire. They've got a young batting lineup anyway that's underperforming, so he's been dropped from that, but good opportunity for him to play here. What's the process of picking the Lions? Is it exactly the same as picking the full squad? I mean, does Rob Key get involved? Is it anything from Stokes and McCullum, or is it basically Fred and the Lions set up as an independent organisation? That's the wrong word, but independent party at ECB that picks the squad.
Yeah, I think, and now you've got Marcus North involved. He will definitely be having input into that. So I think it is slightly independent. Obviously, the future, the eye on these guys is to move up into the Test squad, but I don't think McCullum's going to be sort of, sounds horrible, too concerned with these guys currently. And that's where Fred comes into it, Keysy, and probably Marcus North, very much so around that. And then Ed Barney, who's like the ops guy for the Lions. So that's where the selection comes from it. So choosing these guys out of their performances from 19s and first class cricket, but it's some of these guys might be a 2-year down the line project, and they're just bringing them in to have a look at them now to see how they go with the transition from 19s, because they're playing against South Africa A, aren't they? Who will be a decent side. So it'd be a good test for some of these players for sure.
What do the England selectors look for when they're picking a Lions squad? Is it just weight of runs? What is it? Or wickets?
You'd think so. Performances.
Okay.
You think that they'd have to have, along the way, they would have had to have done something which has made them stood over above the rest of the county players, and that's where the balance comes into it. Is it at an under-19s World Cup, having done that, or is it having where you're getting your chance in first class cricket? Because there will be guys who may not have played in the 19s but are playing in their county sides. It's just the way it works. They may have gone off and done something else. They may have gone to university, or they may, at that point in their life, they maybe weren't the player they are now. So it's a sort of it's players can come out of the perceived left field. You don't necessarily have to have played in the 19s to be picked in the Lions. For me, it should just be pure performances, and then this is a way for someone like Fred. Fred's been talked a lot about his the way he deals with players and the relationships he had and how he finds out about players. And so Fred's almost that sort of first sounding block for McCullum and these guys to say, actually, he's a solid character. He's under pressure, he does this well. Or conversely, he just struggled a bit when the pressure came on. So that's the sort of things they're looking at, because you'd like to think that talent-wise, they're professional cricketers. They've got that there. It's just how you deal with situations, which can mean if you become a Test match proposition or you're more maybe white ball focused.
Do the county coaches and directors of cricket feed into the England setup the players that they think are more suitable for different formats and more Lions? Give him a chance in the Lions because he's got this, or give him a chance in the one-day squad because he's got that. Is that how it works or not?
I don't think I've got no idea. Not privy enough to that. All I went to a Kent second team match the last week, and I was with Simon Cook. He drove me there, and then we were chatting a bit about it, and that's where he sort of said that he'll get a phone call about a player and almost like, okay, we're considering them for the Lions. One, what do you think? Can you do without them? And I imagine a county can make a case to go, do you know what? We really need him. Ben Dawkins, for example.
That's what I was going to mention.
Ben Dawkins is, he's there's an opening place there, because there's the injury, but also this year he got 180 for Loughborough Uni against Derby. He got 220 in the second team and followed it up with a 70 not out in the second innings. And then he's got this 160 last. Well, he got 60 against Gloucestershire, and then he's got one. He's got this big score. So someone like him must be on their radar. But if you ring Simon Cook up and you go, actually, we want to whip him out for 2 weeks, Cookie's going to look at it and go, with if there is any championship, and there isn't, but for example, if there was, he's going to say, well, we really need him to open the batting for us, to be honest, because he's doing well for that. And Compo's still injured, so Compo's a few weeks away. So I think there's a bit of negotiation with that, which then can formulate why someone may miss out on the squad who you think, well, why aren't they in it? It's because their county needs them, and almost it's a give and take, bit of priority stuff.
Ben Dawkins got those runs. There's a picture going around doing the rounds in the media of Ben Stokes shaking his hand. They can't do him any harm to get all those runs, facing the England captain, but also being under the watchful eye of Ben Stokes. Going back to the point you just made, though, is that not unfair on a player if Simon Cook in this instance and Ben Dawkins, if Fred wants him and Simon Cook says, no, we want him, does that not put a black mark against the player, even though it's not the player's fault? Because also there's a time and a place thing going on here. So you talked about form. We didn't really talk about form. We talked about performances. If he's in a red hot streak and gets a call up and gets kiboshed by the county, he may not get a call up again because someone else might get his place. You said before you don't want to give up your place, or worse that effect. You never give up your place. And so that might be the end of his international career, but not because of anything he's done. Seems unfair to me.
No, I get it. Yeah, to a point. But this is where the Lions program exists, and it goes on all year round. So, but I would not be surprised if Ben Dawkins is already on has a plane ticket booked for the winter tour. So right, let's get him. He's played under 19s. He's done really well at first class. Let him play. Let him carry on that success. You guys keep, but we're looking to take him away over the winter and getting him involved in this England environment. That's our plan. So if we can't, if it doesn't quite work now, that's okay. But he's definitely in our plans for a few months down the line.
We talked about bowlers, and it's kind of the pace that makes the difference, really, and that's why you're saying Sam Cook didn't get picked. What is it for batters then? So if you're getting a herd of runs at county level, and we know the step up from county level to international level is big, and obviously the Lions fits in that middle spot. What's the difference? What's the step up like for batters specifically, from county level to Lions level?
That each step up in level you go, you expect to get less bad balls, and so then that tests your technique, and it also tests your mindset on how willing are you to, or how aware of you that actually the bowler is on top of it here. They're having a really good spell. I need to back myself almost defensively, okay, so that I can get through this, because they're going to change a bowler in a couple of overs, and that bowler may give me some balls to hit. Whereas at county cricket, it's sort of, you expect to be bowled a short wide one or one off your pads more regularly. And so, step up from club cricket, you're probably getting a couple of balls an over where they might, perceived as boundary balls.
Yeah.
Whereas you step up to first class county cricket, that's going to be reduced. And then less again in Lions, less again in test matches. So that's where Fred will look at a batter and look at their mindset. How can they cope with that tough period of the game? What do they do? Do they run down the wicket and try and wahoo it, or do they dig in and sort of soak up that pressure, thinking of the long game?
Mindset more important than technique.
I think that's probably what they look at first, because I'm a believer, to get to that level, to be a professional in the first place, you've got to be you've proved yourself to be a very good player.
Yeah.
And then and with that you need to have a good technique, and then as you've worked your way in to be a regular professional player. So yeah, I would sort of put a bit of a value over that mindset above. I think you can learn to work with your technique. Let's think of some of these players. Alistair Cook, he incredible mindset that worked with his technique.
Yeah.
Graham Smith, he had a horribly closed bat face, but he worked with it because he's such a strong mentality. So that's why I give more credit to your brain power, start over your technique.
No one can be a happy hooker and get away with it all the time, Jonesy. The first of those England Lions versus South Africa matches is the bank holiday weekend coming up. It's at Arundel. I think one of the days is a public day. I'm not sure if it's the Sunday or the Monday, but I know one of them is. So if you're in that area, West Sussex, beautiful place to watch cricket. Let's move on to the women's team. They are playing New Zealand in, well, they've just finished a 3-match series. One was washed out, was 1-1 in the end against New Zealand. Lauren Bell proved her worth, 5 wickets across those 2 matches. She's probably the first name on that team sheet now, but no one else really stood up, I didn't think. The batters especially, they tried a lot of batters, but no one really sort of saying, right, okay, I know the squad's been picked, but we're the ones that are going to stand up and win England this World Cup. Is that a worry?
Yeah, and it was and the sort of stuff I read as well, exactly that. So Alice Capsey, she did well after bursting onto the scene a number of years ago. She probably hasn't lived up to full expectation, and she got she
She's got
did get
40
she
odd.
got
Yeah.
40, yeah, and what they were crying out for her was to get a much bigger score, and that's the worry I think that England have, is that and the biggest thing that was clearly evident to me was how important Nat Sibber-Brunt is, because she's the
Especially
one
without
that gets
Boma.
those. Yeah. So she holds that middle order together. She gets the big scores. She's got hundreds on the biggest stage and at the most important times. And so they're just, they're looking around for that. Heather Knight, you'd expect with all her experience, but she probably, she needs to step up a bit as she's coming to the back end of her career, probably. But yeah, that middle order is a concern, because 30s and 40s don't win you sort of those 50 over matches.
No.
You need your batters going and holding it. It's a long time to bat. The stuff I do with the Kent women stuff, it's so evident that 50 over cricket for them, that it's a huge amount, much more time than you ever sort of give credit for to bat. And that's where, that's what probably the England women's team need to look at, is how do our middle order recognise the time they've got to bat, where in that middle order someone's getting a 70, 80 to support what you hope is a top order batter getting 100.
The Lamb-Grucock new opening partnership didn't really fire, but the leading run scorer, the highest run scorer, or the highest score, was by Maya Bouchier. She got 50 odd in the first game, and she's not even in the T20 squad. So that's more pressure, as you say, on that Sibber-Brunt, Heather Knight, and the other batters. They got a deep batting lineup, England. They go a long way down. But how did you feel for young Tilly, Corteen-Coleman, getting her first wicket in that first game? Caught the catch off that Lauren Bell took.
Yeah, fantastic. And you only had to look at her to see her excitement, her enjoyment, and what it meant to her. She's had a very sort of quick rise to it. She, come still at school, playing in the 100, being involved in a squad, being selected in a squad, and then taking your first wicket. Those feelings are incredible, and so getting those experiences for her are amazing. And so she's obviously rated very highly, and the spin aspect for England is strong.
Yeah, it
Sophie
is. Yeah,
Eccleston is
yeah. Charlie Dean as well.
someone to someone to learn from. Sort of Tilly to learn off Sophie Eccleston. Amazing for her. So it's so with Lauren Bell bowling the way she has, and then you've got that spin, the spin trio. Hopefully they add Nat Sibber-Brunt bowling a bit. So it's it's there, but you didn't come away from that going, we're ready for the T20 World
No,
Cup.
no.
Yeah, we're firing. Danny Wyatt Hodge wasn't playing. She's a crucial one in that middle order that probably they'll look to do it. But in the cricket they've got before that World Cup, they need to really, sort of put in some strong performances to give themselves belief as much as anything.
I can't help but feeling that the team that wins the T20 World Cup is going to be the best fielding side. Because I watched England field that first game, and there was a lot of mistakes, which you'd hope with the practice that they do. I mean, you work with the Kent Women's, as you say, a lot of work, I'm guessing, goes on as far as fielding practice is concerned. But yet, there were just the ground fielding, especially was indifferent. Let's say. Do you agree? Do you think the fielding is going to be the difference between the team that wins it and the team that doesn't?
It's definitely be a factor, for sure, and it's probably something that women's cricket has still got some work to do, because I think you can go watch every match and you will see quite a few errors with fumbling. Even with our Kent girls, it's something that we do talk a lot about. But it also comes to, I think, the more you talk about it, the more pressure you're putting on someone. So when that ball comes to them, instead of being in that relaxed state, it's almost like, oh, I don't want to fumble this, I don't want to miss it. So it's a real balance. There's no doubt they'll be working extremely hard. There's no doubt, because it's been highlighted in previous tours in Australia when they were compared to the Aussies. I think the Aussies are the benchmark. Whatever it is they do, they get their fielding spot on, and it's just a different level. But if you're constantly fumbling it, dropping catches, you're up against it, and so then what you're doing is you're giving the opportunity to the opposition to sneak extra runs. You're letting a batter off the hook. Charlotte Edwards she'll be hammering them on the fielding aspect, because she knows how important it is, and it's then their ability, though, to, when the pressure's on, to reproduce probably what they're seeing in training. And that's the frustrating thing as a coach. You see someone, you go, they don't miss a thing. They don't drop it. They don't fumble it. They've got great throws in. And in a match situation, all of a sudden that comes into it. That's the hardest bit as a coach to try and work out and understand, is that what's the difference? Why is that? Because it also then can follow on to a number of players. If you've got 3 or 4 fielders who aren't quite on it, it then gives the impression the whole team is slack. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a work on for that World Cup, is to try and be the best fielding side, because it has a huge impact in women's cricket.
The obvious differences in terms of physique and whatever aside, technically, I mean, are there similarities, I guess, between the men's side and the women's side? Let's say the batters, in terms of hitting through the V and the shots that they play, or is it a different game because of physicality?
No, I think it's clearly yes. In terms of, you only got the number of sixes here and the power element to it. That's why the women's boundaries are 60 to 65 meters, compared to the men's are probably, some might be 75, 80 plus. So they're little bits like that trying to do it. But with the professionalism of the women's game, the power element is definitely coming into it. But what I suppose the one thing that you potentially you don't have the same sort of pace to work with. So the spinners
Okay.
tend to bowl a little bit slower. So that's where you see a lot more sweep shots and dismissals to sweeps, because they're trying to put some pace on it, and the cross-batted nature of that. We talk to the Kent girls trying to hit the ball straighter, to use that power on it as much as they can. But so trying to find ways which they can do it. So, but generally the women like to opt for sweeps and reverse sweeps, because they can get more pace on the ball, which isn't necessarily given to them by the bowler.
Women's World Cup, 12th of June, that starts. England, Australia, obviously, India, current 50 over world champions, South Africa, and New Zealand, who are the current T20 champions. There's a lot of competition there for England, but we wish the girls good luck, and we'll talk about it a bit more as we get closer to the event. Look, I've written a book, my second book, Body in the Nets by Sanjay Murthy. Look at that. I'm going to do a competition. I'm going to give you this now, actually. Can you think of a question that we can ask at the end of Silly Point? Because whoever answers the question, you can make whatever you want, you can think of something. I was going to do something like, what's the name of the captain of the Buntingford Smedley Cricket Club? But, it's probably people go, I can't be bothered to go and find that out. I won't enter it.
Yeah.
So if you could think of a question. You've read the first book and you don't know it's Barry Briggs. So there you go. Right. Whilst you're thinking of a question, let's do Silly Point. We're back to Who Am I after the disaster with Max Morley last week of my Love Island or cricketer. I thought it was genius, but it flopped magnificently. So there you go. Right. You ready? Who am I?
I'm about as ready as that person on the front of your book, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've probably been doing the same activities as that person's been doing as well. I would have thought that'd be a pint of lager there. I was born in Karachi in 1957. My first name means eternal or immortal in Persian, and I'm widely regarded by pundits as Pakistan's finest ever batsman. Any ideas who this could be? I don't think you're going to get it from that.
Quite old, aren't they?
Yeah, 57.
43.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, so what, how old they are?
Yeah,
it'll be 70 next year.
Yeah, 43 and 70.
Yeah, next year, yeah.
Pakistan's finest.
Yeah, I am the batsman who was at the non-strikers end when Imran Khan dismissed Richard Illingworth to win the 1992 Cricket World Cup for Pakistan. Who was the non-striker? Any ideas? Who was he? No. Can't think of it.
No, but my brain is. Do you know who I want it to be? I want it to be the guy that, and I can't remember his name. Did he chase Dennis Lilly with his bat?
He might well have done. My name's a sort of name you get in Christmas crackers because it's made up of three people. Whose name is made up of three separate people. I am the only Pakistani cricketer to have played in 6 consecutive ICC Cricket World Cups, spanning from 1975 to 1996. He's got a thought, and there's a name coming to him. I made my test...
No, there's not. That's the trouble.
I made my test debut against New Zealand in 1976 and became the youngest player at the time to score a double test 100. I'll give you the clue that you told me. I had a famously fiery temperament on the pitch during the 1981 Test match in Perth. I got into a heated, near physical alteration with Dennis Lilly. He's also famous for.
See, I got it.
You did get it, yeah, but you want the name. And my best clue is his name is made up of 3 different people.
I know, but I just can't remember it.
He did impressions of Bob Willis. Yes, Lilly, Rodney Hogg, waved his bat about. Do you know, actually, he was a really good player as well because he was the youngest player at the time to score a Test double 100 against New Zealand, and his batting average never dropped under 50 in Test cricket for all the time that he played. There you go.
He was proper.
Yeah, he was a proper player.
Yeah, I remember that as a kid. Yeah, I just can't remember his bloody name.
And shall I just give it to you because you know who it is? So
initials. Give me initials.
JM.
This is bugging me.
JM.
JM. Go on.
If you ever watch Citizen Khan, his first name is the same name as the community business leader that was in it. Spark Hill Pakistani Business Society. The leader of that group's got the same name,
right?
And his surname. Mind blank. And his surname. If there were 3 people going to the shops, and there were 3 family members, and they were both male and you were one of them, you would say,
brother and I.
So myself and my father are going.
Javed, me and Dad. Javed, me and Dad.
Javed, me and Dad. 3 people in the same name. Marvelous stuff. Jonesy, that's good. You're going to get that because that's an excellent performance by, because you got it after the second clue, I think, about the 1992 World Cup thing. So excellent. That was good. So we're back on form again now. Right. Have you thought of a question for someone to win my book yet or not? It can be about you.
Well, my question. Well, when do you want it to run? How soon? When?
Yeah,
when
we'll
do
do
they
it
win
on the show. I'll clip it out and do it in this. Well, we're recording, right? So it's as soon as you say it, it's going to be live, and I'll clip it out.
No, I was wondering if it was an end. I'm wondering if we link it in with top scorer in the first Test match or something, or is that too far down the line?
Yeah, too far down the line. Let's go instant gratification. I think that's where I'm at with this one. How about?
So we've got some. We've got the blast starting this weekend, haven't we?
Yeah.
Coming up. So some double headers. I'm at Lord's on Friday for a Kent Middlesex double header. Shall we? Because we usually do this on a Monday. Shall we go? Top run scorer in the first matches of the T20s.
So what? That's a single person, or is that a team, or?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah, it's got to be one of the two, isn't it? Tell you what
do
you're
you prefer? So do we? No,
you're going to make a career as a quizmaster.
Do you want to? No. Do you want to go individual, or do you want to go? Yeah, top. What team? What's going to be the highest team score in this first weekend of T20s?
Let's go with that. Which county or which team is going to score the highest number of runs in their innings in this first round of the T20 Blast? And the winner, or the closest, so you've got to say the team and the number of runs, and whoever gets that right under our decision-making process wins a copy of my book. So there you go, Jones. I'm seeing Jonesy over the weekend, so we'll both sign it and get that to the lucky winner afterwards. Let's do around the grounds then, just to finish off, mate. I wanted to bring this up earlier, but I wanted to save it for this also. Not Liam Dawson, we'll do that in a second, but Jofra Archer, the bloke centrally contracted, yet is allowed to play franchise cricket in the IPL as opposed to an England call-up. I mean, Sir Geoffrey will be, he wouldn't be turning in his grave because he's still with us, but other people who are not with us would be turning in their graves. What do you think about that? Not about Sir Geoffrey.
It is a bit. It is a bit baffling why he's not back for that first. Why we're resting him, and bringing him only in for the second one. I don't know. It can only be an agreement between the powers that be and Jofra himself. And also the IPL for whatever reason. There must be some background negotiations for it to, because for a lot of us it's cut and dry. Jofra Archer, centrally contracted. He plays every match available for England, so he's available for the first Test match.
I'd give him just give him a white ball contract to be done with it. Because ultimately, if you're bringing through all these new bowlers, Sonny Baker's got wheels or other quick bowlers around, just move on. Time to move on. Thank you, Jofra. You've done a great job. Play white ball cricket for England and earn your franchise money, no?
Who are you going to go watch bowl in a Test match currently? Jofra Archer or Sonny Baker?
To be honest with you,
who's going to get you?
There are lots of people who spend good money to go down to Australia asking that question and came back wishing they hadn't bothered. So from that basis, I think watching England win would be a good start, let alone which individual lights up the ground. But look, I get that individual Stokes and whatever individual performances, are the things you remember. But ultimately, you can't. Nor is England a side that's reliant on one person who is, by agreement or not, able to pick and choose when they want to play. But let's leave it at that. Liam Dawson, he's retired, as we said. County great. Did England underuse him?
I don't know. No, don't think so. I think if you think for a lot of his career, the bowlers that Dawson was competing against, he probably wasn't quite. Swanee probably dictated a lot of the time when Dawson was at his best, and so it's only been the last few years that he's sort of come back into it and been given opportunities. So, and in terms of county great, I think you'd probably have to go for Hampshire, especially. He's played for them his whole career, and yeah. So whether or not they name a stand after him, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, there's not many stands. Well, they've got the Colin Ingleby stand, haven't they? And they've got the Shane Warne stand, and they've got the Rod Bransgrove Pavilion. There's probably one. Well, they've got a hotel at one end. That makes it difficult. So I'm sure they'll find something to commemorate him with. Quick fire, you ready? This is quick fire. So you've got to really do it. Have you got it? Hopefully you've thought about it. One Lions player to watch.
Ace Tribe.
One England player under pressure.
Smith.
One surprise player of the summer.
He's making himself Dawkins of Kent.
Okay. One county player England are ignoring. Sam Cook.
Jimmy Anderson.
And from the women's side, who will be England's breakout player from these matches before the World Cup?
Corteen-Coleman.
Excellent stuff, Jonesy. Apart from I'm impressed with your Javid me and Dad stuff, and not so impressed with your with the ability to set a quiz. But let's see how anyone gets on with that, and I will see you over the weekend. See you, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye.